that just, you're just so, and I think that's something that happened with AI in cybersecurity, that we see policies becoming such an important piece of cybersecurity strategy and such an important piece when we talk about CISOs and responsibility, because they have something to point to. Like this is written policy that we have, and this is what we're going to go by. And I think then it takes that ownership and makes it company wide and not a person, who just is owning a strategy that's not written down. So I believe in the written word. I believe that it's so desperately needed, especially as we come into AI and this level of uprooting that we're seeing. And the reason that I bring this up is because I remember that vulnerabilities, when we were addressing vulnerabilities and 0-day vulnerabilities, that it was a big deal to get the patch out as quickly as we could. And if we couldn't, what are those mitigating controls that we are talking and showing the organization that we have a mitigating control in front of this vulnerability, not only for us, but for our board and for regulators. But the other important piece of this is the idea that with the written word and having this written policy down, we really, in 2010, what I so specifically remember is as I am driving to said organization, whichever it was, that I would have all these, CISOs calling me because there was another release of a 0-day. And the only thing that was being asked of them from the board is, are we safe? That is like, how do you need to have something written to say, well, let's just point to the policy before we start to throw this blame and everything else. Like we need something to point to, especially now that the vulnerabilities back then in 2010, at 1500, 2000, maybe we better have something written.
Yeah, I think that the something written is something that it has evolved, right? Because I remember, I remember studying for the CISSP decades ago. Right. I have a very, very low CISSP number. Let's leave it at that. Okay. It's embarrassingly low. And we had the issue of what happened, like policies that we were talking about. We had that nuance of, okay, are we writing a policy to document a decision versus are we writing a policy to instruct behavior, right? And is that really a policy or is that more of a procedure or a standard, right? And I remember us spending a lot of time doing that. But those things make sense. Even today, they make sense. Of course, they're going to be written differently, right? But we need them because that is what helps to scale and distribute decisions, right? In this day and age, I'm not sure about both of you and people in the audience, but as you work with your little agents, right? Whether you're talking co-work, whether you're talking OpenClaw, whatever, Codex or whichever cursor, whatever agent you want to use. One of the best things you can do for that agent is document your standard operating procedures, right? So why? Because we're giving them to agents. So that I don't see that changing.